What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. As you saw in the thumbnail, we have a pretty cool pistol today. This is what I call the Walther White. It's actually the Walther WMP 22 Magnum in Arctic White, but Arctic White sounds so boring, so I picked Walther White. I figured what better day to do this review than a snowy day in Ohio. I'm not currently snow plowing. I have a handful of 22 Magnum ammunition. Let's get it done. First things first though, let's get it out of the box and take a look. I have a black backdrop for it, so it looks extra cool. So first good thing is that Walther sends them with a hard case. I like it when a company sends your gun with a hard case. That's awesome. And wow, look at that. That thing stands out completely against all the black behind it. Comes with one extra magazine. These are big magazine base plates to begin with, that's for sure. These are actually pretty big magazines in general. 22 Magnum's a long cartridge, so it's going to be a little bit extended. Now, some people may say that this thing is really ugly, but I think it's really cool looking. Some people will call it Stormtrooper, call it Arctic White, call it whatever you want. I just call it cool. I've wanted a WMP for a long time. I wanted to try one out because I do like 22 Magnum, and I wanted to see if they were all right or not, but I never went ahead and bought one. When I saw this, though, in this color scheme, the kid in me had to go ahead and buy it. So first things first, I will roll in some footage. This thing came completely slathered in oil on the inside. There was some here down on the takedown lever. I'll go ahead and roll in all the different frames of me messing with it before I actually cleaned it. There's all sorts of gunk and junk. There was just grease everywhere. It was an actual grease. I know that you put grease on machine guns and sometimes shotguns and maybe some other guns, but holy crap, it was all over the internals of this thing. It was even on one of the magazines. So you could just see it looked like cosmoline in there. It didn't smell like anything, but you could tell that they had fired the gun because inside the ejection port, there was some spent powder in there. And then there was actually some, I would say, metal grinding or metal wear that already shown through the yellow part of the whatever they were using. So it was kind of dirty on its way in. It was actually just very greasy, not even oily, just greasy. But we cleaned all that up. It's ready to go now. I put some good stuff on it. I put some M Pro on it, and I think we are ready to rock and roll. Totally clean, slicked up, feels good. I'm not sure what this metal is actually made out of up here, but I'll put the specs up in the corner if I can find them properly. This is definitely just some sort of a white all the way through polymer. It doesn't appear to be Cerakoted. It is all the way through white, I believe. I could be wrong about that. I do like how they have the black highlights all the way through it. That does make it look like a Stormtrooper gun, of course. You'll notice it has some porting cuts here on the slide, but that is not real. That is actually not a ported barrel. And it's also not a threaded barrel. So these sights that are on here that are extra tall, we can't call those suppressor heights, but we can call them optic co-witness heights because you can actually see here there's an optics plate. And speaking of those things specifically, they do include some optics plates, some screws, and actually a back sight for iron sights if you don't want them to be optics height or suppressor sight, whatever you want to call them. They have a set that's actually a little bit lower. Now, either sight you have will be black and they'll be serrated to cut down on glare. We have an orange fiber optic front sight, and the manual does say that these are adjustable for elevation, but I haven't figured out how yet. Of course, you can probably slide them left and right without too much problem, I would assume, but I don't know about elevation. Maybe, maybe not. There really doesn't appear to be any way to make that happen. But if you go ahead and drop that other rear sight in there, that will drop it a little bit, so that could help you out if you're having problems. So what else do we have here? We have a pretty good grip texture. I like that. That's not bad at all. I'd like it to be a little bit of a more rubbery texture, but that's just my preference. Not bad. It could grind you a little bit if you chose to carry this gun for some reason. I would say that this gun is completely ambi because you do have a magazine release on this side. You have actually a magazine paddle release right here also. So double here and double there. So 4 ways to release your magazine. That could be good or bad depending on how you view that. You have a slide release right here on this side. We have a rail here so you can hang whatever type of accessories you would like. We do have pretty good forward serrations here, even though they are a little bit slippery with whatever this white coating is. The serrations in general are slippery, but at least we have them. We have a blade safety here in this trigger, and we'll have to show you that when we start shooting it. We'll see what that looks like. We have some serrations up here on the trigger guard for anybody that wants to do that long monkey finger thing. And we do have pretty good space here in the trigger guard. If you want to go ahead and use gloved hands, which, I mean, we're going to go to the Arctic with this gun, so of course you would. But I think you can get some gloved hands in there as long as they're not ridiculous gloves. On this side, it's just a reverse of everything except for you have the takedown lever. It does take down very easy like any other modern polymer gun. And we have the very cool WMP stamp on the side. There's a view from the top, nothing too special, but I do want to point out that is a very heavy barrel. When I was cleaning it, it was actually very surprising to me very heavy, very nice. That should do well for accuracy. There's the view from the bottom. Doesn't look too bad. It does have, like I said, a little bit of a wide and large base plate in general, but you're dealing with 22 Magnum, so you're gonna have to deal with it. And there's the view from the back. It's got this HK looking hump here on the grip, but I don't mind that, or I guess you could also say Walther type of hump, but I can try to get used to that on certain pistols. That hump is also on the Taurus TX22, so if you're used to those guns, it's pretty much identical, just a little bit longer of a grip here. And we have our hammer mechanism back here. Now, bringing back the Taurus TX22, it will show you that it is a pretty large pistol. Other than the trigger guard looking pretty much the same size, let's go ahead and lay this on top of this one, and you're going to see, if I line up the grips, it is a larger pistol for sure. This is a 4.5 inch. I forgot to mention that. I'm not sure what this Taurus is. I'll have it up in the corner, but definitely a little bit larger, a little bit longer here in the base, a little bit longer here in the front. And actually, I would say if we line it up, try to line it up right with the triggers and the grip, it is a little bit longer here in the back. Lining it up from the back here, not too terrible of a width difference in the grip, but you can definitely see a height difference here. And you'll see that this gun here is just a little bit wider in the frame and slide area. All right, comparing it to something other people may understand, here's an MMP 2.0 45. So if I line that up on top, it is bigger than the MMP 2.0 45. Here's another one people understand. This is a Glock 17 Gen 5. So we'll try to line those up, and in a lot of areas, it's actually bigger than that. I don't want to just let it fall off and scratch anything, but yes, this gun can be bigger than both of those, depending on how you look at it. So just know whether you're going to carry this or if it's for home defense, you're going to keep it in your car, your tackle box, whatever you're going to keep this in, your truck, it's going to be a big gun. It's a duty size gun, but that'll probably make it handle pretty well as opposed to some of these little teeny tiny guns. It is 22 Magnum. It will have a little bit of a pop. I'm going to show you compared to this Taurus. We'll show you the recoil difference. I'm sure it will be a little bit different. Definitely probably going to be more flame and fire out of the barrel, but it's a good full-size gun. It's not a little baby pocket pistol. All right, so let's get this out of the way real quick. I have no affiliation with Walther. I bought this with my own money. So I wanted this gun for a long time, the WMP. I just saw it in the white. I had to have it, so I have it here now. We're going to put it through the paces, though. I don't like any guns that don't function. So we're going to put it through all that ammo. We're going to see how it functions, how it feels, see if there's anything weird about it. I might put an optic on it at some point. We'll definitely be doing gel testing and stuff like that. But for today, we're just going to run a bunch of ammo through it, see what it's like. All Turkey's opinion testing on firearms starts with reliability. It's called no BS testing. We can't stand it when manufacturers make firearms that are pieces of junk right out of the box. So hopefully this is not a piece of junk. I can't remember if I've ever owned any other Walther arms other than, I really don't think I have, to tell you the truth. So this might be my first. Good luck, Walther. We don't hold back on this channel. All right, first up is going to be Arms Core 40 grain jacketed hollow point. This is kind of a bulk ammunition for 22 Magnum. It used to be really cheap. I've found it to be pretty reliable. I've actually found it pretty devastating on game. I can't remember exactly what it does in gel, but we'll be testing that independently at one point in time. But in general, I like this ammo a lot. I want to try this first. We're going to load up 15 plus 1 because that's what this gun can carry. So we're going to put it right to the 15 plus 1 test. We don't screw around, like I said, and we're going to see what happens. I will point out that the magazines have the little helper tab, and they are numbered, so pretty nice. It's always good to have a helper tab, and it's nice to have a round count. All right, these will be the very first shots. And remember, I did clean and oil the gun. A lot of people accuse me of not doing that. The first one chambered in there just fine. I know I rode the slide home. That's a big, big sin. But anyway, our plus 1 is in there, and our plus 1 is in there, and we had to spank it a little bit to get that other 15-round magazine in there, but here we go. Here's our first shots. Now, I will point out right off the bat that I have a pretty small hand, to tell you the truth. I don't have very long fingers. I have kind of like short, stubby, fat fingers, but right off the rip, just to get to this trigger is a little bit of a reach for me. So that's uncomfortable, and you're not able to change the backstrap. So I'm telling you, we go through these guns brand new. I don't play with these guns before I see these or show you these guns on review. I read the manual a little bit, but this is really my first time with this gun. And the first thing I just noticed is that reaching up to that trigger, I'll show it to you from this side. Anybody that knows guns knows that I'm already having a weird reach. Actually, I would like to land somewhere on the trigger right about here, but I'm landing short. So that's not good for me personally, but let's go ahead and see how the gun functions. Now I'm going to aim dead center at the blue portion of that target. Camera guy switched up the colors for me. All right, so I'm high and to the left. Let me try that again. I hit in pretty much the same spot. Let me make sure that my grip is where it's supposed to be. All right, I'm in the same spot each hit, so I'm definitely going to have to change out for the lower sights, I think. In general, it doesn't feel bad at all. 22 Magnum makes a big bang, and it sometimes has a big flash, but it doesn't feel too bad at all. Now, if I Kentucky windage it a little bit, I'm pretty sure I can hit the center of that plate. Well, yeah, there we go. So I know where to hit. It is pretty consistent. I'll go back to aiming at the center of the plate and see what happens. Not too bad. Camera guy's going to get in here. He's going to show you the trigger finger. I'll do it with my left hand. All right, so we have the take up of that trigger blade that I can barely reach. That goes, it is actually very easy to get the first part of that trigger up to its wall, so no resistance. It almost feels like it's not there. You get to that wall, and then there is a squeeze, and then it goes off. It does go off pretty cleanly. The reset would be... Well, wow, that's a pretty long reset, actually. And then there's a little bit of creep to get back on the wall again. Let me try that reset one more time. All right, there is the reset, but then there is definitely a creep to even get back on the wall. Once you're on the wall, you go through the wall again. So yeah, big long reset right there, creep back to the wall, over the wall. All right, so I personally don't like that trigger too much. Let's see what goes on with the hammer while we're pulling the trigger. So camera guy's gonna get right behind the gun. You'll see that as you start to take up that very soft part of the trigger, there's that hammer coming back. And then as we creep through it, you're going to see that, well, now it's locked open, but you saw it crept and then it finally went ahead and slammed forward. So it's a little bit of an odd trigger for me, but it did run all 16 of those just fine. We don't have total accuracy right now with these sights, but so far at random, the biggest thing with 22 Magnum is reliability. So we passed the first ammo test. All right, I loaded 5 more of those up. I want to capture the velocity of those. That magazine, it goes without the extra one in there or the slide close, it goes ahead and locks okay. And let's check this. Actually, let's check first. Does it inertial load? I'm going to try that again. So it doesn't just inertial load on its own very easily, which in my opinion is a good thing, but opinions vary on that. As far as the slide release, it's kind of a little bit of a hard push. Doesn't really have a click or anything, at least not from that side, but it goes into battery. We got the Garmin out. I just want to get an average. So we're getting 1273.2, 1285.5, 1250.5, 1236.4, 1345.1, and it locked back. All right, so I know some of you are going to want to know what the recoil might be like between 22 Magnum and 22 long rifle. It's really not that bad. It is just a tiny bit more. Remember, these are fake ports. That does nothing to help that, but it's not bad in general. It's just got a little bit more powder, a little bit longer case, but generally shoots the same grain weight bullets. So we're still using the arms core in here. In the 22 long rifle Taurus TX22, I have some Winchester M22. It's a decent bulk ammunition. I run it a lot in this gun and any other 22 I have, really. But I'm going to show you this gun first, and then I'll put this one up next to it. Camera guy's going to try to stay in the same place so that he can register how this works, or how you guys can register how it works. All right, so I guess I'll do it one-handed. I'm trying to let it ride just a little bit. Great. You guys just saw it. I don't know. That's great. So the brand new Walther WMP just had itself some form of KaBoom. That was a nice clean gun. I was just going to comment how this thing wasn't getting dirty at all, but take a look at that. I don't know if that's ammunition. I don't know what that is. We're going to have to investigate though. So test is postponed for a minute because we just had an out of battery explosion. That's not too uncommon in the malfunction world of 22 rimfire, 22 Magnum, but it's really not a good experience. It'll make a lot of people turn them into instant flinchers. It's not good for kids. I just got sprayed in the face pretty good. It's definitely a reason to have your eye protection on. Camera guy's got his eye protection on. If that was a larger caliber, we'd be in a lot of trouble, but it's a 22 Magnum. So the gun is able to open up, but let me get in the sunlight for camera guy. We actually have separated the case head, so we've got to punch that out of the barrel. We have a mess on our hands here, so not too good for the 22 WMR WMP. Testing postponed. Let's get to diagnosing. All right, so we got this thing inside. We are in my leather workshop, so things look a little bit different. They probably sound a little bit different, but here's where I do my diagnosing of gun problems, which is quite frequently. So let's get this thing safed, get the magazine sort or the ammunition source, the magazine out of it. We had a few left. Doesn't look like we have any damaged rounds in the magazine. I don't see anything floating around. We do have this exploded thing. Again, like I said, we try to put this up to the camera. We have this paint that got blasted off right here. It darkened the Cerakote. That stinks. This gun was nice and white. We have more chipping right there. I'll try to point at it with a tool instead. More chipping right there. Chipping, chipping. So we did have some force. You guys probably saw a spark. I'm going to roll that in there in slow motion and see what it looks like. I'm not sure what it will look like yet, but let's try to get this thing open and get the slide off. I'm trying to let it ride just a little bit.